Hello and welcome. This is Notibot ENG. I'm your anchor for tonight's news recap. In a tense escalation of tensions in the Middle East, Iran has warned of renewed clashes with the United States if American warships return to the strategic Strait of Hormuz. The region remains on high alert as the U.S. launches self-defense strikes against Iranian vessels. We'll bring you live updates from the front lines and analyze the implications of this growing crisis between two global powers. Stay with us for a comprehensive look at the latest developments. Tensions in the Middle East are escalating as Iran's top military commander threatens war should the United States return to its strategic naval base in Hormuz. Tensions are escalating in the Strait of Hormuz after a recent confrontation between Iranian and U.S. naval forces. According to an unnamed Iranian military source, the situation remains calm, but warns that tensions could quickly turn violent if U.S. forces return to the area. The Iranian source stated that any attempt by the United States to interfere with Iranian vessels could trigger further conflict. This warning comes after reports of sporadic clashes between Iranian and U.S. naval ships in the strait earlier this week. Fars news agency reported on these incidents, citing eyewitness accounts of brief but intense exchanges between the two sides. The developments follow a recent U.S. military action in which it struck two Iranian-flagged oil tankers that Washington claimed were heading towards Iranian ports in the Gulf of Oman in breach of a U.S. blockade. This move was seen as a provocative act by Tehran and has raised concerns about the potential for further conflict in the region. The Strait of Hormuz is a critical waterway through which much of the world's oil passes, making it a key strategic location for both Iran and the United States. The U.S. has maintained a military presence in the region since 2019, following an attack on one of its naval ships by Iranian forces. The tensions have raised concerns about the potential for miscalculation or escalation, with implications for global oil supplies and regional stability. As tensions escalate in the region, Iran is taking a tough stance against what it calls U.S. adventurism, following recent strikes on its vessels. Iran has warned the U.S. over its recent military strikes on Iranian vessels in the Strait of Hormuz, with the country's foreign ministry spokesperson Esmail Baghaei condemning the action as adventurism and roguish behavior. The U.S. had launched drone strikes against 3 Iranian oil tankers, including the Adrian Darya, which was carrying a cargo of crude oil bound for Syria. The attack came after a series of incidents involving U.S. warships in the region. The incident is part of a heightened state of tension between the two countries, with tensions rising since the U.S. withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal in 2018. The U.S. has accused Iranian forces of attacking its warships, which it claims was unprovoked and lawless. However, Iran denies any involvement, blaming the U.S. for the attacks. The incident has significant implications for the global energy market, with oil prices rising after the attack on the Adrian Darya. The ship's cargo is now being held in a British port, where it will be sold at auction to prevent it from falling into the hands of terrorist groups such as Hezbollah. The U.S. and Iran have been locked in a bitter dispute over security in the region, with both sides accusing each other of aggression. The incident highlights the ongoing risks posed by tensions between major world powers and raises concerns about the stability of the global energy market. As relations between the U.S. and Iran continue to deteriorate, the situation remains volatile, with the potential for further escalation. As tensions escalate in the Middle East, the United States has taken military action against Iran, citing self-defense strikes on warships. The United States has launched self-defense strikes on Iran, according to officials, after warships came under fire in the region. The incident occurred on May 7th, with U.S. military personnel confirming that a few of its naval vessels were targeted by Iranian forces. Details about the attack are still emerging, but reports suggest that the strikes were carried out by Iranian Coast Guard ships and rocket-propelled grenades were fired at the U.S. warships. The incident has raised tensions in the region, with officials from both countries scrambling to respond. The reason behind the U.S. response is unclear, but it is believed to be linked to the ongoing conflict between Iran and its regional adversaries. In recent months, the United States has increased pressure on Iran, particularly regarding its support for militant groups in Iraq and Syria. Iran's involvement in the region is a highly contentious issue, with many countries viewing it as a major destabilizing force. The U.S. government has long been opposed to Iranian influence in the region, and this latest incident may be seen as part of an escalating campaign to limit Iran's capabilities. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, head of the World Health Organization, has reported a surge in attacks on healthcare facilities in Lebanon since the conflict began. This highlights the human cost of the ongoing violence, which has already claimed hundreds of lives and left thousands more injured. A developing crisis in the Middle East escalates as the U.S. launches a targeted strike on Iranian tankers, prompting Tehran to retaliate with accusations. Good evening. I'm your name, and this is a special report from our World Desk. Tensions between the United States and Iran have escalated after the U.S. military fired on 2 Iranian tankers in the Strait of Hormuz, a critical waterway for global oil supplies. The incident has raised concerns about the safety of shipping in the region and the potential for further conflict. The Iranian Foreign Minister, Hossein Amir-Abdollahian, condemned the attack as reckless and accused Washington of undermining diplomacy. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the U.S. expected to hear from Tehran on Friday. The 2 tankers, which were carrying Iranian oil, came under attack by a U.S. Navy destroyer in the early hours of Tuesday morning. The incident has sparked outrage in Iran, with officials vowing to retaliate against any country that interferes with Iranian shipping. The U.S. has justified its actions as necessary to protect American interests and deter future attacks on the region's oil infrastructure. However, critics argue that the attack is a provocative move that could escalate tensions and undermine efforts to negotiate a peace deal between Iran and the West. The incident highlights the ongoing rivalry between the U.S. and Iran, which has been marked by a series of proxy conflicts in the Middle East. The situation remains highly volatile, with both sides vowing to defend their interests at all costs. We will continue to monitor this developing story and provide updates as more information becomes available. A fresh escalation in tensions has broken out between Iran and a U.S. naval presence in one of the world's most critical waterways. A tense standoff in the Strait of Hormuz escalated into direct military confrontation on Thursday between the United States and Iran. The exchange began when Iranian forces fired missiles and drones at 3 U.S. naval vessels. This was met with a retaliatory strike by the U.S., targeting various Iranian targets. Details are still emerging, but CENTCOM confirmed that the strikes were carried out in response to the initial attack. A senior U.S. official described the exchange as not a resumption of war, but the Iranian military took a different view, labeling the U.S. strikes as a ceasefire violation and threatening further retaliation. President Trump has downplayed the incident, saying it was merely a love tap between the 2 nations. However, this assessment may be disputed by observers who note that such actions can have significant implications for regional stability. The Strait of Hormuz is a critical waterway that connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman and is a key route for global oil supplies. The incident has raised concerns about the potential for escalation in the region and the impact on international relations. With tensions running high, it remains to be seen how this situation will unfold. The exchange between the U.S. and Iran highlights ongoing tensions between the 2 nations, which have been at odds since the 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran. The incident serves as a reminder of the need for diplomacy and restraint in this sensitive region. That's all for today's news recap. We'll continue to bring you updates on the ongoing tensions between Iran and the U.S. If you'd like to stay informed about these developing stories, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.